So now we're gonna jump into round 2, and as I mentioned again, wait till you guys see this absolute hoot of a lineup. We have the triple aggro lineup again. This is the Lulu Zed, Pirates, and Azir Aurelia. Now, if you guys remembered in my last video, or if I talked about it in my last video, I'm actually relatively happy to see Aurelia Azir in a... The weird thing about Aurelia Azir is that it's not like, well, it potentially fits in a triple aggro lineup. I'm much more happy to see that deck because it is still very interactable, or it doesn't race you down in the same way that a deck like Lulu Zed, Pirates, or Discard races you down. It sort of waits, assembles its combo pieces, and then kills you in 1 or 2 turns, whereas the other decks kind of just beat you down turn by turn. And of course, my decks are Lurk is pretty okay into Aurelia Azir Mirror 50-50, and again, I expect Auction Silver to get banned, so that's not really a priority. Now, knowing that I'm going to leave up Aurelia Azir, my question is if I'm banning Pirates or Lulu Zed. And the question, or the answer here, is not that clear. I think burn decks as a whole are relatively hard to handle, but the same kind of goes for elusives. Now again, with Lurk, I can high roll either deck just fine. So it's really down to what I think Aurelia Azir is better into. And honestly, I'm not so sure. I think I end up taking the gamble and just banning Lulu Zed, or sorry, Pirates, and leaving Lulu Zed up because I did go 2-0 into Lulu Zed last round, and I'm feeling a little bit confident about myself. And I think that's my overall decision. I'm going to skip ahead, and I'll see you in the first round. Alright, so I did end up banning Pirates. I'll queue into my first deck, which is Lurk, and I'm playing against the Lulu Zed. We have the attack token on odds, which is a good sign. We have a 1-drop, which is an even better sign. And this is where things are a little bit tricky in the mulligan. I have Call the Pack Pike. I know that against an aggro deck, Pike can be a pretty good answer. But the awkward part is I'm keeping 2 cards that I won't play until turn 3, and that scares me a little bit. I think that if I had done this again, I probably would just kick back Call the Pack and Pike and just look for like a 2-drop or a 3-drop. Now I did find the Chronomancer, so things worked out fine. And this hand looks okay. The 5-drop is a little bit sad, but I'm still okay with this, and I have a Call the Pack Lurk onto Pike on turn 3. I miss Lurk here. Again, it kind of sucks. That's just kind of what you sign up for when you play a deck like Lurk. But you'll notice that in the future rounds as well, I think I don't hit a single turn 1 Lurk after the first game, and that makes me very sad. So, yep, Young Witch on 2. And this is kind of an interesting one. I don't think Rek'Sai in this spot is very good. I'm not going to Call the Pack onto Rek'Sai. Snapdraft Storm is interesting, but if I'm Call the Packing, I'm probably Call the Packing next turn and not on turn 4, because I want the Pike spell on their next attack turn. And so I just take the Predict, knowing that this turn is just Call the Pack on Pike, and I set up an attack. I don't get a playable card, and I just attack here. The 2-drop is nice, of course, being able to challenge. So we have the Pike spell on turn 4. We can't Skier plus Pike, which is a little bit unfortunate, but that leaves us with Pike into the Snapdraw, or not the Snapdraw, sorry, the Hammer Snout, which is at least an okay play. In this spot, we don't feel too bad. They had a relatively weak setup last turn. We don't see any champions quite yet. And so right now, our spot is still okay. But this is turn 3. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. So he's thinking about his blocks. He decides not to take it. And he drops Duo, which is okay. I can at least kill one of his units with the death from below. And we'll just see how much more he's able to develop. Yep. Fleet Feather Tracker, a little bit annoying, especially when it gets quick attack. This is like what kind of really just thins down your board, just having the quick attack challenger with the Young Witch. My deck just can't really deal much with it, like especially on the defensive turn. I have to either like try to kill his Young Witch on my offensive turn, just to deny him the quick attack, but he's gonna get a pretty good value trade, at least for this turn. And so now we know he's floating 3 mana, so worst case scenario he has a rallies, so I do want to eliminate the 4-1 if I can. He could have a buff card in the, because my pike's only at 3, if he plays Twin Disciplines here, he also gets to push for additional damage, which would suck quite a bit. And it looks like that's what he has. So again, missing the turn 1 lurk puts me in a spot like this, where I miss the kill onto the Greenglade duo, and I take an additional 4 damage, and I leave up the duo. So now I have to kill a duo again, and I'm in a really bad spot here. Again, I have to deal with this quick attacker in the Young Witch, so you can't just hook my pike again with the bird. I finally get a, not even a slow turn, but he plays Shadow Assassin, and even though it's a 2-1 for 3 and it's relatively slow, it's still an elusive that threatens me, whereas my board can't really block that. So I go into my turn, I look for another pike, hopefully, and I don't hit it, and I do need to kill his unit. He's still at 3 mana, he still could potentially have a rally. Again, for a deck like Lulu's, the only kind of cards that brick out in their hand are buffs and rallies. So that's kind of what we need to consider about in his hand. And then he plays another duo. So this is a interesting spot. I go for the Skier on Pike here. Because I know I'm very limited on my removal. I'm gonna kill his Young Witch this turn, but that's gonna leave up a lot of elusives on his side of the board, and I'm at 7 health. So I actually use my pike here with the Skewer just to get another removal card in my hand, being the pike. Because if I attacked this turn with pike, he just doesn't block it, right? And I don't really get any value out of it. So by using the pike here, I can at least kill a unit. Hopefully he doesn't have anything else. Maybe it's just a rally and he only has like a 2-1 elusive. But he has a Zed, and that's kind of bothersome. If I kill the Zed here, I die to any buff on the elusives. But if I kill the elusives, I'm forced to block down my entire board. And this is not a good spot. I think it's very clear he still has a rally in hand, just sort of by the way he's playing, how much mana he's trying to hold up each turn. And we're just in a tight spot here. There's not much we can do, and we just didn't get a chance to stabilize. So, kind of looking back at this game, sorry about that. I don't know what I'm looking at. I still don't know what I'm looking at. Hopefully it was, there. Alright. So, going back to this game, it's hard to say what I could have or should have done differently. I think from the mulligan standpoint, I could have ditched the Call to Pack Pike, which maybe I get like the Vulnerable Fish earlier. Or I get more useful cards that don't sit in my hand until turn 3. So maybe I could have applied a lot more pressure by going like a triple 1-drop kind of hand. But again, missing Lurk on turn 1 did cost me 4 health, it being able to save the duo. Me needing to use more removal on that duo definitely put me in a really behind spot. Because if I'm in the same spot here and I have another Skewer, then things might be a little bit different. I realize here if I block with Pike, I'm just going to lose. And so if he has a buff card here, he wins. If he has a rally card, he wins. I can't really do much to stop it. And as I predicted, he has the rally. And not much I can do there, and that's game. So as game 2 starts, I am playing Lurk again into Azir Aurelia. This is a matchup that I feel that I should be able to win, although it's not the easiest game to win. And I ditch everything but the Chronomancer. Attacking on 2 means that Chronomancer on 2 is a very good play. I ditched the Pike, which in some cases I might even consider keeping in this matchup, but it's just a consideration. So I do find the Fearsome 1-drop, but I play the 1-2 instead, and this might be wrong, because unless he doesn't play unit, I don't get attacked with this 1-2. Whereas if I had played the 1-1, although maybe it prompts an attack from him, I still get the attacking with the Fearsome. And at this point, I guess it didn't really matter that much, but that's potentially a different play I could have gone with. I also think that if it prompted him to attack this student, I could just trade, because I think in this matchup, again, one of those annoying things that kind of really slows you down is the sparring student. Yep, so he goes to Azir. I already have blockers for his attack. I can't block his student when he attacks with it. So I'm in a kind of awkward spot. This is kind of what happens when a student just scales a little bit higher than what you can do. And it just makes it slightly awkward. If I found like the 3-drop predict card that could at least block the student here, I'd feel a lot better. But in this case, I'm just gonna have to tank a bit of damage. This is another interesting spot. What I quickly think about here is whether or not I just go for the elusive or potentially try to kill Azir with the Rek'Sai. If I play Rek'Sai, it means I don't predict and I leave the elusive up, which could be an issue, and so I go against that decision. Just trying to make sure I kill the elusive, be able to slow down his game plan a little bit. He actually doesn't play anything, which gives me the feeling of a little bit of a window, because he doesn't have any good blocks here, and maybe I get to push enough damage where I can kill him on the following turn. Because this is still a relatively scary spot for him at least. And if I can kill the duo here, I'm slowing down his game plan a decent amount. And at this point, there's not too much I'm scared about. If you wanted to like buff his Azir to kill that, I'm totally fine. The only thing I'm really worried about is an Aurelia, and yeah, again, super tough. He has the student, he has the Aurelia, he has the blades, so no matter what happens, I'm bound to take a little bit of damage here. And he has a second student, so this is catastrophic. I'm kind of stuck. I don't really know what I should be doing here. I play the 3-drop over the 5-drop in case of a Defiant Dance. I want to be able to have my right up this turn in case he just somehow cheeses me. And I even consider writing this Flawless Duet. Because if I somehow strand him of Blade Dance cards this turn, maybe there's a chance that I can just deter off any attack. Because if he's attacking now with the students, then that doesn't really do anything. I choose against it. I maybe should have even needed to go for the right here, because I think that I need to kill him next turn, right? And I'm going to sacrifice a good amount of my board into these students. But he has another Blade Dance card, so all is really for naught. I'm in a super far behind spot. I have to block both these students, and I think it's Aurelia levels. And this is just not the spot you really want to be in. So something interesting he does here is he doesn't attack with his whole board. This is definitely I think it's safe for him to do so. I have no block. Oh, I do have a block for Azir, but there's only one block for Azir. He could have safely attacked with everything and gotten even better trades. So This was a slight misstep on his part, but it's not gonna matter. Because I just don't really have a good way of killing him. So this is a really interesting spot. In this spot, I would most likely want to open attack, just to prevent him from getting like a Blade Dance card buffing his students. But I think I'm just too far behind. I just look for Pike one last time, hoping to hit it. And Blossoming Blade buffs his students, destroys my attack. And, you know, again, I'm just in a sort of rough spot. But there is one saving grace here, and that is I can skip this block. Well, I have to, otherwise he just gets a free trade. And I still have the Threaten to trade down his board. But the saving grace here is I can still play Rek'Sai, and this will force him to trade down his board considerably. And then just maybe, he misplays and makes a poor block. He accidentally blocks down too much, he leaves up too much, and maybe I can just cheese my way through if he has absolutely nothing left. So even in this spot, I think it was correct to not open attack. I could have hit Pike, and maybe that could have swung me the game, or saved me from dying on a turn that my opponent could have lethal. But in this spot, he has to block everything but one unit, and that leaves me in a pretty okay spot. It still leaves me out for top deck lethals, or top deck Pike lethals, and because he knows I predicted, and if he attacks in a way that loses the Pike, then he might actually lose. And so at this moment, I'm actually not dead. He leaves his Azir up, and if he open attacks with Azir, I am alive at... Oh, that's not true, I'm dead. But I will be alive to a card like Skewer. And unfortunately, he has a lead and follow, which on the bright side means that he can only attack with 2 blades here. He loses his Aurelia, and I at least have blocker for that. I'll go down to 2, which sucks, but I can at least try to play the 5-drop and hope to stabilize. Okay, going down to 2. This game's a lot closer than I imagined it'd be. He has a Azir coming down next turn, but I have 2 units. He plays Azir, I have 2 wide, he has a 2 wide board. I'm not representing to be dead quite yet, so we'll see what he has. I play the 5-drop. And, you know, I actually have open attack lethal, but the Blade Dance comes down, and that just seals the game. If he had absolutely nothing, if he had the Defiant Dance, I had the Deny. And so in this spot, if he had a card like Defiant Dance, I would just win the game. But unfortunately, that's not the case, and I just don't have enough blockers for this board. So very unfortunate. If this Deny was like a Skewer, I could still be in an okay spot. Is that true? That is true. If I had Skewer, I could maybe sneak out a win here. If I'd use this Deny on an earlier turn, maybe that would have helped, but it's just hard to come out from that spot when they just had a really good draw. So, quick 0-2 from our side, unfortunately.